Welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast, the essential podcast for fathers navigating the complex but rewarding journey of raising daughters. I'm your host, Madeline Anderson, and I'm thrilled to bring you honest conversations with dads and daughters, sharing heartfelt stories, actionable advice, and real daughter perspectives that will help you be the best girl dad you can be. Hey, and welcome back to Girl Dad, the podcast. I'm your host, Madeline Anderson, and today we have a deep dive on the importance of spending time in nature. If you're watching this on YouTube, yes, I know my face is really shiny right now. I did just moisturize. And for the dad who commented on one of my previous videos asking if I used car wax on my forehead, the answer is no, I do not. So now that we have that cleared up, would love to dive into the episode. We've got a fun one today, and I think it's a really important topic. It's something I'm really passionate about. And that really is just the idea of spending more time in nature. I think we all need it, not just your daughters. So today we are going to have a fun conversation about spending time in nature and why you should make this a focus for both you and your family. During this conversation, I'll talk about two things. One, some facts and research around how being in nature actually impacts your health. And two, we'll talk about the impacts of more time in nature on your daughter and her well-being now and into the future. So the idea for this episode came to me last week when I was on a golf trip with my dad, my sister, two of my cousins, and four of their friends. So there was 9 of us total. And we spent all day, every day in nature. We golfed, I think it was like 54 holes, and played 4 different courses, had an absolute blast, and we were totally present with one another. We did not touch our computers the entire time. We were barely on our phones, and if anything, it was just texting to make sure everyone was up and ready for golf. And we were so present in nature, which was amazing and so healthy for us. Also, I will say this weather that we had was not sunshine and rainbows and beautiful weather. It was rainy and cold and windy and honestly brutal at times. But it was such a good lesson. We got up and we were like, you know what? We came here to play. We're going to play in these conditions. And we bundled up, and it was a great experience. We had so much fun. We actually got to play um, all 9 of us in one tee time, and we did a 3-person scramble. So it was 3 teams of 3, and it was just such a fun experience. We were all freezing. We were shivering. And, as I would step up to my drive, I would say, I thrive in these conditions, and just do all the mind tricks to make me feel like this is great. This is not miserable, even though it was a real challenge. So the reason I'm bringing up this story is because this trip was just such a fun reset for me. I feel amazing coming out of it. I was so productive at work today. I feel great. I feel way less stressed. Even though I'm not doing anything different, I just really got to be in nature and spent time being present with my family, away from technology, and it was amazing. So the lesson here is just to find ways to do this as much as possible, even if it's on a micro level every day and then a macro level every year. I think it's wired in us as humans. We are animals. We came from nature, and our bodies are created to respond to nature in different ways. And I do want to start by kind of talking about a lot of that research as to exactly how we thrive in nature and how it affects our health, both mental and physical. So related to these different facts and research is an amazing book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. It's something that I recommend to a lot of people. I mean, anybody, honestly, should read this book, but a lot of dads specifically, when it comes to thinking about parenting and raising resilient daughters and being resilient themselves, and just kind of creating that expectation for the family. Because the moral of the book is that we're all just too comfortable these days. Like, we can Postmate any food we want. We can get our groceries delivered anytime we request. We can hop in an Uber and go anywhere. We can reach almost anyone in the world just by looking them up and reaching out digitally. And we have completely removed boredom, and we've replaced it with screens. And so there's a lot of negative implications of this. And I think that the main solution to these negative implications is getting in nature and spending time outside. And in the book, he's talking about a hunting trip in Alaska where he's out there by himself. And if he doesn't find an animal, then he will die himself. And I don't think not everyone needs to go that extreme, of course. I myself will not be taking on that kind of challenge, although I really admire him and others for doing so. My husband included. He's amazing, and he always challenges himself in that way, and has been on hunting trips and puts himself in miserable conditions. I mean, like something that most people would not even consider. It really is admirable. But I think the main thing that I want to get across here is that there is so much research and health in doing so. So getting outside in nature, away from screens, is so critical for human health. And we'll talk about 10 different ways that that is true. But I really wanted to shout out that book because it helped open my eyes a few years ago to just how much we are impacted with today's world and the luxuries of it, and how this new normal of, just instant gratification and accessibility to everything is a recent thing. And we need to be more mindful, I think, of where we came from and what our bodies are built and wired to do and how they are built to survive in nature specifically, and how we actually are in a symbiotic relationship with the outside. We need to be outside to be our best selves. So, with that said, I will go over 10 fun facts about the impacts of nature on our health. Number one, it reduces stress hormones. You may know that cortisol is commonly referred to as a stress hormone. It does a lot of other amazing things for the body, but the main thing is you do not want to have consistently high cortisol. So being in nature reduces cortisol, and even in as little as 20 minutes, it can help regulate your cortisol levels. So highly recommend getting outside, getting sunlight in your eyes, and starting your circadian rhythm the right way and starting your cortisol cycle the right way. Okay, number two, it improves your mood. So being outside significantly reduces feelings of stress, anger, anxiety, depression, you name it. I think we all know that this is true. I mean, how many times have you been feeling stressed, gone outside, gone for a walk, and just felt better naturally? I mean, it really does work. And that's why I think that this should be a non-negotiable for everyone's day. Yours, your daughter's, your family's. It is so important to spend time outside. Number three, it actually boosts your immune function. It increases white blood cells, which helps your body fight different viruses and other issues going on. Number four, it enhances cognitive function. So it helps improve memory, attention span, and overall productivity. Number five, it reduces rumination. So it helps decrease those spinning negative thoughts associated with depression. And this is something that doom scrolling or being on social media all the time, scrolling TikTok, Instagram Reels, etc., will increase. So being in nature is like the counteract to that kind of negative feeling that you get from scrolling on social media. Number six, being in nature lowers your blood pressure. Number seven, it regulates your sleep. And for anyone who is a fan of Dr. Huberman, you may know this already, but getting outside in the morning to start your circadian rhythm is one of the best ways to help regulate your sleep. So that sunlight in your eyes first thing is so important for you. And I would recommend that you do not wear sunglasses because this would just kind of defeat the purpose of that, especially if they have, UV blocking effects, because you want those healthy UVs in the morning. Number eight, being in nature increases vitamin D. I think we all associate vitamin D with the sun, so this makes sense. And vitamin D is really helpful for bone health and immune health. Number nine, it sparks creativity. So it allows the brain to enter that unfocused mode that boosts creativity and problem solving. And you'll find yourself start to just think of different things, different ideas. I mean, I always get some of the best ideas from walking and just being outside and letting my brain kind of not turn off because it's constantly working, but it's just moving naturally. I'm not forcing it to pay attention to something. I'm letting it run free and think about different things. And usually it'll give me a direction or an idea. So definitely this makes sense. Number 10, the final one, it accelerates healing. So people who have undergone surgery, if they spend more time outside post-surgery, they tend to recover quicker. So moral of the story here is that there are so many ways that being in nature helps on a biological level. These are just some of the interesting facts that I found, but I think we all know that we have a calling to nature, and when we're out in nature, we find a peace that you just cannot find elsewhere. So that is the summary of these different facts. But now I want to talk about actually, how this relates to your relationship with your daughter and how you can set her up for success with her health and well-being. I do want to give a shout out to my friend Carmine, who is an incredible girl dad and who was actually a guest on the podcast. He came on episode 2. So if you haven't listened to it already, I highly recommend it because it is such a good episode. He is just prolific with all of his advice, and he has a lot of really, really great stories and lessons to share. So if you haven't listened to that, go back to episode 2. It still remains one of the top episodes. But the reason I want to give him a shout out is because he and his wife take their daughter outside every week, and I'm constantly seeing the most incredible videos of her in nature. She's 1 year old, and she is climbing on rocks, and he's holding her hand, and she's looking back at her mom with the biggest smile on her face, and she's laughing. And he also has this backpack that I'm trying to explain it in the best way, but basically it's elevated. So her view is over Carmine's head, and he carries her on his back, and they do miles and miles of hiking through Colorado. I think one was a 14er for anyone who knows what that means. I'm not super familiar, but I know that it's really tough. My sister did it. I think it's 14,000 feet elevation. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what he is doing is amazing. And his daughter is 1 year old, and I think she's spent more time in nature than most adults have, honestly. He is doing such a great job just by exposing her to that and showing her the world and making that her reality. Because now as she grows up, that's what she knows. She's comfortable. She is learning real life skills, and she is not being surrounded and bombarded with screens and advertisements and constant stimulation, which can be really negative to the brain and for, long-term things like productivity and attention. So major shout out to him. He's doing amazing. And I think we can all take some advice from his book. But with that said, Colorado is definitely a place that has a lot to offer in nature. There's so many different outdoor areas and hikes and lakes and all the things, but every single person has nature somewhat near them, whether it's a beach or a park or a mountain or a lake or a golf course, get outside, take your daughter, take your family. I promise you, it is so worth it, and it is so, so important. I don't think it's emphasized today enough. My husband actually took me backpacking about a year and a half ago, and it was a magical experience. I was so scared going into it. I'm not going to lie. I had a bunch of different fears, and I didn't want to do it. I contemplated telling him I didn't want to go the day before, but I am so grateful that I did. And I'm really grateful that he pushed me to do so, because I have never felt the kind of peace that I felt outside in nature, surrounded by no other humans, even just trees and birds. And actually, there were some cows with cowbells. That was an interesting experience. But it was so beautiful. And I didn't know that I could turn off my brain. And I did. I was just not thinking about anything. And that's a very new experience for me. So I was extremely grateful. But it went to show me like how important this kind of experience is for me and for my mental health. And I think it goes for any human and their mental health. I think we're all just so distracted. I mean, we got things thrown at us all the time on social media, or even when we're driving, we see advertisements and it's just like, look over here, look at this, check this out. And people are sending us things and we're watching them, and there's new shows coming out every week, and we're on our computers for work a lot of the times. And it's just not how we are wired. And so, obviously we all have to do our jobs and we have to be accommodating to this new kind of lifestyle. But I think we can't forget where we came from. And I think we should all try to make more of an emphasis on getting into nature, especially with your daughters and your family. And one of the real implications of this, and the reasons why I'm such an advocate for getting in nature, has to do with social media and the negative effects that it can have on your daughter. So imagine your daughter with two different scenarios. The first scenario is she grows up and she is surrounded by technology at all times. She plays on your phone when she's a little kid. She goes on an iPad anytime she wants, because when she's bored, that's what she does. She watches TV with you. She goes on computers at school. That's how they teach now. And then, she's has social media. Now she's scrolling all the time, spending time in her room without natural light. And that is her upbringing and her reality. Option two is she spends time playing outside. She's riding her bike. She's going for walks. She's playing in the dirt. She's planting things. She's growing things. She's playing with animals outside. She's hiking and backpacking and golfing, playing tennis, playing sports, right? Which situation do you think that daughter will be better set up for social media and some of the negative things that come with it? Obviously, it's number two, and I'll explain why. So for the daughters that grow up in situations where tech is everything and that's their reality, that's what they know, then there's a stronger emphasis on the importance of social media and the importance of popularity on social media and likes and image and all these things that inherently come with social media and are some of the, downsides of it. But for daughters who know real life and whose parents have a real emphasis on helping create that reality of being in nature, being outside, um, spending time playing and doing real life things, then social media just is another thing. And it's not their life, and they might have it. They might, have some negative effects of it because they're a young daughter and self-image is a tough thing, especially on social media, but they are protected so much more. They've created this really thick force field for social media where they can see things and they don't care, because really they're living their real life. And social media, they might have it, they might not, they might just not care. But for the daughters that have grown up with basically social media their whole life with different games and interactions online, then that's their reality. And they struggle in the real world. So them being outside in nature it's almost awkward, and it feels like they're probably reaching in their pockets trying to refresh their phone, see if they got any Snapchats or DMs or what likes. And the thing is, I am not a parent yet. And I completely sympathize with this idea that it is so much easier to hand your children an iPad and distract them, because they're bored and they're asking you for things and you're like, here, play a game. Totally get it. But I think it's so important that we are aware of what this kind of reality builds long term and how it can affect your daughter in the future. And I think in the recent past and today in the present, a lot of parents are handing their children iPads and allowing them to spend a lot of time on screens and phones and iPads because that is kind of the norm right now. And again, I do sympathize for parents right now because everyone else is doing it. And from the kids' perspective too, if all their friends are on it, it just feels like that makes sense. And I think we all need to press the pause button and really think about what this does for our children and to our children. And again, I'm speaking like I have children. I don't yet. But this is something that I'm really, really interested in. I'm trying to read up on this. I'm trying to do a bunch of research because I know that this is a new thing, right? Like I didn't grow up in a time, I'm technically Gen Z, but I didn't grow up in a time where there were iPads when I was a kid. The iPhone came out when I was in middle school. And I do remember that. And I had a flip phone as my first phone. But I think we are starting to see kind of the effects of what all of this is doing to us. And I will do a full deep dive on another episode just on social media. But I think what I really want to get across is let's all be really deliberate about spending more time in nature, whether it's playing more sports, walking more outside, waking up in the morning and letting the sunlight hit your eyes and relaxing and meditating, or taking your whole family outside to just watch the sunrise or play sports together, play golf together, go to the lake together, to the beach together. I think really what I want to get across is that this is so important. It's so good for our health. And a lot of us have gotten into the routine of staying inside, working, watching TV, being on our phones, and it is not good for anybody. So let's all come together and have a stronger focus on this. I am so passionate about this topic. I'm sure you can tell, but I think we will all just be happier and healthier the more we get in touch with who we really are and where we came from and what our bodies were created to do. So that's all I have for you today, but hopefully this weekend you'll find yourself doing something fun in nature with your family, with your daughters, and I would love to hear about it. So please DM me, tell me what you did, tell me how you liked it, how your daughter liked it, if you noticed any mood improvements or stress reduction. And yeah, I think this is really, really important. So with that, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to Girl Dad, the podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow girl dad. I read every review and truly take your words to heart. To close out, remember, your intentional moments make lasting legacies. See you next week.